Welcome into King Well's album review party. Today we have a very, very special episode because we got our first request. So first of all, thank you so much for requesting an album for us to review with my amazing host, Ty with Guitar,
Thank you. Thank you, King Whale. I'm happy to be here.
right?
And
Uh,
thank you, listeners, for suggesting an album for us to look at.
right, greatly appreciate it. And keep sending those requests in. If you request us to listen to it, we will talk about it. That's what this review party is. So today, the album that was requested was Boywithuke, and he released an album called Lucid Dreams. Now, it took a little bit of time for us to get to this one, so I apologize for that too. Just, getting busy with stuff. And also, I really wanted to listen to the album to make sure I had something to really say about it, obviously.
Of course.
So this is the album, Boywithuke. I mean, Lucid Dreams by Boywithuke. And it was pretty good. I actually enjoyed it. What did you think about it?
This is his fourth album. So I
Mm-hmm.
had not I had not heard of Boywithuke before this. In doing research, I learned about, him getting his start in on TikTok, making short tracks that kind of blew up there, and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
propelled him into making more commercial albums, and it led us to this point. Um, it's it's not for me. It's not
Yeah.
for me, and it's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not my genre of pop that I go to.
Yeah, I think it's very good music for I don't know, even if you're at a party or if you're talking with people or just having an event, something that's not really gonna think too hard about. I don't want to say think too hard about, but it's a different kind of project from what we usually cover. This isn't
Hmm.
Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly with this isn't Lupe Fiasco's albums with layers and layers and layers of you know,
Not
content
like,
on it.
yeah, no deeper wordplay here. It's rather surface level, which there is a space for that, and I
Oh,
I
completely.
like that. I'm glad that that music exists. It's just when you're sitting down to listen to it, it it just felt like there were many times listening to this album where I caught myself thinking, "Oh, did we switch to the next track already?"
Yeah.
Because it's very samey, and I don't know if this really works as a double, because this is the longest album that he has put out,
Hmm.
in total being 14 tracks, which compared to like the 11 from the one before, and okay, consistently around 11, 13, it's his longest, but it doesn't really justify its length to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you could really see how it got popular. And it's another thing that you can really see how what it's good for. Like I used it a lot. I listened to it a lot while I was working out, where I was
Hmm.
going for a run, stuff like that. I was doing something else while I was doing it. Or even
Hmm.
just driving in a car, I could see it. But when I listen to Lupe or J. Cole or something and I'm really listening, I'm
Hmm.
usually not really doing anything. Like sometimes I can work out while listening to J. Cole, but I can't
Hmm.
really work out while I'm listening to Lupe. I have to be doing something that like driving, like shutting my brain off where because I just there's only so much room I have in order to do it, and I still gotta think about my workout. Um,
Right.
and so what really impressed me the most about this album was the production because his name is Boy with Ook. Is his
Hmm.
entire name. And so this isn't just an album called Boy with Uke. Like, hey, I'm gonna put ukulele in every song on the album. This is my
Right.
name is Boy with Ook. I'm putting a ukulele on every single song that I make because you put
Yeah.
that in your name. And I play saxophone. I wouldn't call myself king with sax to where I had to put saxophone in every single song because that just seems like it would take the amount of creativity that it would stretch your brain to do to figure out how to include it in new and different ways that don't sound
Hmm.
exactly the same would drive me insane. And so the fact that he's
Yeah.
able to do that with the ukulele, such a unique instrument, I think is a huge testament to his creativity and what he's able to come up with because that's that's hard. It's hard to come up with a new idea with the same instrumentation Like every time I produce a song, I'm thinking about different instruments I can use. And I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I've got guitar, piano, bass. Like there are some other instruments outside of that, but I'm like, okay, is there anything else I can like replace what these ones do? Because it's
Hmm.
very hard to do the same thing with the same instrumentation. But he was able to do it and created a nice pop album with ukulele that matched the production really, really well. And I felt like every time,
Yeah.
like I know, like I could tell kind of when a new song was starting, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool how we use the ukulele in this song.
Hmm.
And I don't think his songs are meant to have, like deeper themes or thought-provoking themes, which sometimes can make it, a little bit harder for people like me who were raised on Lupe to like really pull out of it. But the more that I've gotten into music, the more that I've gotten into other styles of music, because like I was raised on jazz and R&B, and pretty much hip hop is where I discovered my love for music. So like jazz is insanely complicated. Chords, structures, all of it is very, very complicated sometimes. Um, R&B not so much, but you can have more complicated instrumentations. A lot of R&B singers, like the better you are as an R&B singer, the more runs you can do, like you know what I mean, like all that up and down stuff.
Oh, what
And,
was that? I'm sorry. I think my audio cut out. What was
oh,
that
did it
last
cut
part?
out? Ah,
Yeah.
you missed it. Oh well, have to move
Oh,
on. And then
shoot.
like my favorite hip hop artists have a lot of substance and like deep lyrical meaning to their um art. I forgot the word there. But the beautiful thing about music is not every song has to be that. There's a space for just chill music that kind of has a theme that a lot of people can relate to because, again, not everybody is wanting to listen to like a dissertation every time they pick up a song. And so that makes a lot of sense, especially for this album. And it's pretty cool because I feel like it definitely connected with people in his generation. And he's actually coming to Charlotte on May 8th, which means I might be, because I work at the Fillmore where he is performing at. So I might be there for that show. So we'll see if I get scheduled then. But it would be cool to see.
Okay,
I'm
that's
curious to see
exciting.
how he performs
How he
live.
performs live.
And he's
I will.
performing with Arden Jones, and I like Arden Jones.
Mhm.
Followed him for a while.
I'll say, like, to your point about the ukulele, it doesn't sound, I feel like an instrument like that, for how absent it is from a lot of pop and whatever
Hmm.
pop it is in, it usually takes over the track. It's, oh, that's the song with the ukulele. Like it kind of has a
Yeah.
tendency to overpower any other instrumentation. Like I think Boy with Uke does a great job at making it not gimmicky. Like
Hmm.
it's like it feels like it's part of his, like, obviously it's part of his brand. It's
Yeah.
literally his title,
Yeah.
his Boy with You. And I think like he has a lot of knowledge of when it works and when it doesn't, because I never felt like it was taking over
Hmm.
any of the rest of the production around the tracks. It was just, it complemented everything that was in it. Now, I haven't gone back and listened to his three previous albums. I don't know if that was a journey to get to that point, and this is kind of
Hmm.
like him mastering it. But I think he's definitely very skillful in how to use the ukulele.
Yeah, I would agree with that because it didn't feel like it was contrived. It didn't feel like it didn't belong.
Hmm.
And it didn't feel like it was even like highlighted. It just kind of felt like the central theme of this album. And
Hmm.
while I realized that that's like the central theme of him as an artist, because that's pretty much his thing, like Boy with Uke obviously does that for
Hmm.
every song. I felt like the ukulele is just how he's choosing to perform. Like that's the central theme that I've got going on for this album. And I would be very curious to see if like one day he wanted to do something that was like boy with guitar and do a whole album where guitar was the main theme, or boy
No, I'm
with
sorry. I already took
harp.
that.
Oh
I'm
yes, sorry,
I'm
that's
sorry.
you tech. You're right.
I have that taken.
That's going to be
Yeah.
copyrighted pretty
He
soon.
can do Boy with Garage Band if he would like.
Or boy with harp or something like that. So yeah, so I noticed that like he used GarageBand to
Hmm.
compose his music.
Yeah, he's been very, from the research I was able to find. It seems like it's very outspoken that he really only uses GarageBand for the production of his tracks. And to
Okay.
me, not very knowledgeable on production software programs to produce a track, uh, I thought it sounded very nice from the like stereotypes from what I've heard of GarageBand for how accessible and simple it is in a lot of ways. I thought it was more complex than I was expecting.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Garage, obviously, I completely understand anyone that does stuff with GarageBand because that's where I came up. Um,
Mhm.
like I started by using GarageBand and eventually I graduated to Logic. And I've made some really, I think, pretty cool stuff with GarageBand. I can't tell you the track off the top of my head. Well, there's one track I did with a lot of layers in it called Games. And I didn't love like the vocals that I did on it, but the production itself I think was pretty solid. Um, I think there's a lot of things you can do with GarageBand, and I think that makes more sense that he produces his tracks in GarageBand. But if you go out there and think that like, okay, because of this album, now I can go out there and make an entire album that sounds like Lucid Dreams with just GarageBand. That is not going to be as accurate as it sounds. Just because there's so much else that goes into creating an album. So like I produce most of my music in Logic and sometimes I master it through Logic too. GarageBand doesn't have a mastering feature unless you
Mhm.
get a specific plugin that only works for GarageBand. I'm sure they've made a plugin for GarageBand that's mastering, but of course that plugin is not free. It doesn't come with the GarageBand software. You'd have to upgrade to
Mhm.
get it. Same thing with Pro
Mhm.
Tools. Pro Tools is kind of this industry standard, but why a lot of people don't like using Pro Tools because it doesn't come with anything. It doesn't come with loops, MIDI samples, or anything. It's just the bare basic recording. And so if you want to get a lot of the vocal effects and things that people do on their voice, you have to get um professional plugins for that. Like even on
Mhm.
your iPad, like Boywithuke, obviously everyone in the industry uses autotune. On your iPad, an iPad with GarageBand doesn't have autotune in it.
Mhm.
So when he's recording his, like he might be producing the tracks in GarageBand, but he's got to be recording them in the studio with something else, probably with, especially if you're signed to a label, because a label is not going to be like, hey, yeah, just record your vocals at home, send it in, and then we'll just push it out. Um, you're gonna
But
you're gonna pay for a studio with $1,000, $3,000 microphones to record, and they're gonna throw some auto tune stuff on it.
see, but I like that he really owns the garage band production because it makes it so accessible to like speaking as an outsider who does not
Mhm.
know any of the inner workings, it feels very much like obviously I do not have like currently the same kind of musical talent that Boy With You does. I could not make that song. I don't know how to play the ukulele. I don't know how to
That'd probably be a
use
good place to start.
the programs. I've never sung a day in my life.
Hmm.
I don't know how to use it. Um, but it feels like aspirationally, oh, like I could because it is so accessible. And to see somebody use those tools of accessibility to great effect, obviously, I have no idea what kind of plugins he's using. I don't know the full story behind the production itself, but the fact that he is known for using this very accessible program and then has become as big as he has in his sphere, uh, I think is very impressive and aspirational. And I think the generation that his music is really for, that's a great that's a great message to carry along.
Yeah. And I definitely think, and I should preface it by saying like you can definitely use GarageBand to like go viral on TikTok and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that once you what was I gonna say? Like a lot of his minute long songs like started to attract a lot of people to his channel. And if you're making something that people feel like is authentic and they are vibing with, it doesn't matter if you use Ableton, Logic, or whatever, they're going to want to check out more because they're invested in you. And I think that's the thing too for like this generation, obviously, where he got his success from is because he makes very relatable music. He makes music
Mhm.
that's easy to see yourself in. I feel like you could relate with a lot of his songs. And I don't follow him on TikTok, but I'm sure if I did, again, his following base, they all probably felt like they related to those minute-long songs, or it was unique enough to carve out a niche. And once
Hmm.
he did that, a lot of times people will, in order to build the kind of like the way the industry used to be 10 years ago, in order to build out that kind of fan base that he has, you had to use something that sounded more professional, like Logic or Pro Tools or something like that. Like you had to use it to create something that sounded like you belonged in another tier. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That kind of separated yourself from the pack, and then people would come to you that way. But
Hmm.
now the generation has completely changed, and people just want to like you. They just want to look at your videos, and they want to be able to swipe and be like, "Oh yeah, I like this guy's videos. I like this person," you know.
Hmm.
And that's what he's been able to do. And that's why, Jake, an artist who came by, it's spelled like JVKE. He went viral for Golden Hour for a little bit, and he sold out the Fillmore a few weeks
Hmm.
ago. And he, like I said, that's the way that the pandemic, it's very interesting to see like how the pandemic has affected so many things, because it's like, wow, a lot of artists had to stop working because of the pandemic, and it was really sad because they were on tour and they had to cancel tours, and that meant
Right.
canceling hotels, that meant canceling flights, that meant canceling I already said hotels.
Even
Canceling
more
even
hotels.
more hotels, like, and that's not just the artist, the audio engineers that go on the road with them. Now you're out of
Right.
work for 9 months or so if you signed on to do this tour, because you sign on for tours. Your
Hmm.
band members, if you had a sax player, drummer, whoever it is in your band, whatever it is, all of them are out of work. And
Hmm.
and because TikTok happened to become popular at that time, it's like at the same time artists like Jake and Boywithuke, had the pandemic not happened, TikTok, I don't think it would have become as popular. And I don't think he would have gotten so much popularity for making music in his bedroom. And
Hmm.
to be able to do that is really cool too, because it just shows that you don't have to impress a label. You just have to show yourself and impress some people. You know what I mean? Because it used to be,
Right.
even before 2020, I would argue, you really, really had to just go out there and impress a record label. You had to go out and impress some executive, and they were going to put you on. But
Hmm.
now, especially with the pandemic and everything and the way it changed the music industry, you put yourself on. So Boy With
Hmm.
It, he put himself on. Jake, he put himself on with his
Hmm.
own unique content, with his own unique, and because he had a platform that potentially could go out to millions of people tuned in. And years later, now we'll see. I don't know if he sold out the Fillmore, but I've been very interested to see if he did. And like I said, hopefully I'm able to work that show. Even if I'm not, I might just buy a ticket and stop in just to see, because I would love to see how he performs. Because he also didn't like reveal his face for a long time. And again, when you're
Yeah.
able to find that kind of stuff that like ends up being popular, like again, it's kind of like I said, a lot of artists wait for that person to like put them on. And like it is very inspiring to have someone put themselves on, because it's like the power
I
is
think
back in the hands of the artist.
I think that's like one of the few nice things about social media, like
Hmm.
when it works positively,
Yeah.
is this right here. Like it cuts out the middleman of a record label to where here's a person with talent who is trying to put their music out there. Here's a platform that is wholly accessible with tools that are wholly accessible, uh, direct to consumer, just straight to us for us to
Yeah.
listen to. And from that pipeline, it doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't latch on. It is not a perfect gauge of talent, but it does work sometimes. And I think he's a good example of how it can work because
Yeah.
I'm really happy he blew up the way he did,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
his music is it should exist,
Yeah.
it's good.
And again, it's one of those things that's like it helps you discuss, and like legitimate people will blow up because of this. This isn't like 2011 when Rebecca Black's Friday came out
Hmm.
back in the day. And like, okay, she couldn't sell at the Fillmore because like again, she paid for that. Like when you got to go perform live, people are going to be
Hmm.
waiting for you to like sing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so like at this point, like this kid, he had the talent and he had the skills to do it. He just kind of needed a platform to get himself out there. So again, when he does do a live show, because again, that's where artists make all the money. Like you can go viral on TikTok, you can go and have your songs have like almost a million views,
Hmm.
almost a million streams. It doesn't last very long. The way you
Hmm.
make your money is from touring, from ticket
Hmm.
sales, because again, it costs for the average consumer, it costs like $10 to have Spotify, and that pays out like 0.0.01 for a stream. But if
Hmm.
that same consumer likes your song, they'll drop $30 for your ticket. And
Right.
so if you're doing shows and you sell, uh, you're able to sell 1,000 of those and you get half, that's 15,000
Hmm.
for one show.
Hmm.
That's why artists got a tour. And that's why
Right.
you got to be able to perform your music. You got to actually have
Mhm.
some sort of skill. Like it's not just like random people that are coming up, if that makes sense. Like you still got to
Yeah.
have the skills and the talent and the dedication to practice to put it all into effect.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like he just exists as a one-hit wonder per se.
Hmm.
Like just TikTok famous. Like he obviously has the legs for, for his fans and for his, circle of appeal. Like he's able to stick it out and keep releasing music.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that's going to separate. I think like a lot of people talk about like different events that separate generations.
Hmm.
And they talk about how like the how 9/11 separates the millennials from the Gen Z a lot of times because millennials
Uh-huh.
remembered 9/11, Gen Zers
Uh-huh.
don't because they
I
weren't born yet.
just
Uh,
wasn't expecting to talk about 9/11 in this boy with you.
oh, well, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Uh, and I think like for Boywithuke, and I think like as the Gen Z grew up, the COVID pandemic is kind of like that next thing that kind of separates Gen Z from like millennials, but like that's a very defining part of that generation because that's when they were growing up and graduating. And so
Uh-huh.
like you and I graduated in 2016. So it's a little bit different like from
Uh-huh.
the experiences and the things that we connect to. And I feel like this album definitely connected to those in Gen Z who had different experiences, even just separated by a couple of years, because going through school during a global pandemic is like it's completely different.
Yeah, this definitely reads as a post 9/11 album.
It's a post 9/11. I feel like you're not gonna let go of the 9/11 thing. But yes. Um, so yeah, so I guess that's kind of how we review Lucid Dreams by Boywithuke. Like I said,
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to seeing him perform live, and I'm very impressed with everything he was able to come up with on this album. Because, like I said, I could not do that. Pick one instrument throughout every brand, everything that I do.
Mhm.
That would be insanely complicated for me. But he's been able to do it, and with great success.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't wait to hear how he is live, and I look forward to hearing what he does next to see how he expands.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere in Florida. I'm on his Spotify right now. So he won't be by you anytime soon.
Ah,
Yeah, I know. Darn it. But May 8th he'll be in Charlotte. So yeah, I'll have to check him out then.
yeah,
So yeah, if you haven't got a chance to listen to it, definitely throw it on. It's still a solid album, a good album to listen to enjoy. Um, and yeah, I think that's our review of Boy with Ook.
yeah. Check it out.
All right, guys. Until next time. And again, please continue sending in those requests and those suggestions on what you want to hear us cover. And let us know what you thought about it. If you've already heard the album before, let us know what you
Hmm.
thought. If there's anything that we missed, or if there's anything that you agreed with that we brought out. If you
Hmm.
feel like this is a good post 9/11 song or not, I know that's going to be a hot topic for a lot of people after hearing this. So
Yes. Yeah, no, but for real, tell us how if it resonates with you. Tell us how and why. I'd love to get some takes on people this really connects to.
yeah, and I think this is one of those episodes where, if possible in the future, I'll try to bring. Hopefully, I'd love to bring more people in, but especially someone who really resonated with it. I would love to bring them in to get like another perspective to help as we go through these journeys of albums.
Mhm.
All right. Until next time, guys. Until next time.